Hey, what's up guys? Chad here with the Reptile Rangers. Now we're at the Kernersville Reptile Zoo and Medical Center again today, and we're going to talk about common reptile problems. This is going to be episode number 4. All right? Before we get into that, right down there in that bottom corner is our subscriber button. Make sure you hit that, and we appreciate you doing so and following along week after week after week. Let's go right into this. All right, now common reptile problems episode number 4 is going to be not eating due to stress. This could be for any kind of reptile. A lot of the times you'll find reptiles not eating and people start trying to figure out exactly what's going on. Generally speaking, it's a pretty easy answer. They're stressed out for some reason, or the other reason is, maybe they're sick. Maybe there is some kind of medical condition. But generally speaking, it's going to be something is just slightly off. There could be so many reasons why a reptile will not eat, from stress of moving them, stress of after you first buy them, get them from a pet store, an expo, a breeder, whatever the case may be. You take it home, it's in a new environment, it's got to get set up and established, and they won't eat. Environment can be another cause of stress and not eating due to stress. Now, if the environment's not set up correctly, then the animal's going to stress. Maybe not outwardly show the stress, but they may even inwardly just kind of shut themselves down because they're stressed out because temperature's not right, humidity's not right, the habitat's not quite what they're used to being in or what they're hardwired to know they thrive in. And they can stop eating or go into a reclusive and secluded state to try and relax or calm themselves down to get comfortable with the idea of where they're at. There's a lot of species of animals that will do that. Russian tortoises, whenever you first get a Russian tortoise, for example, they're one that's known for going and hiding a lot. Unless it was really dealt with, it was somebody else's pet, you just got somebody else's pet that they already had established for years and years. If you get what is most of the time brought in as a wild-caught Russian tortoise, they're going to hide for quite a long time until they start getting comfortable and start exploring their habitat and their area. Now, a lot of the times, the old myth of moving your snake into a feeding box, I mean, they don't move out of their home range to eat their food, okay? That's stupid, and there's no point in it. You can feed them in their habitat as long as you're handling them more than you're feeding them. Then when you open the habitat up, they should not be trying to strike at you and bite you. As long as every time you open the door, you're not trying to just feed them. Then yes, they get used to the idea that the door opens means food. So as long as you're not making that foolish mistake and you're actually handling the animals, then no, you can feed them inside of the habitat all you want. One of the things, especially with ball pythons can be stressy, especially babies. You touch them, they'll instantly refuse food, instantly not have an interest in eating food once they've been touched or moved. So it can become difficult until they get used to that movement, but everything they do, they have to get used to that movement, okay? Okay, so another thing that can cause stress in these, and let's talk about this, is let's say you take a ball python and you put it in something like this. He's going to stress out. He doesn't need anything close to this big. All these people, it's like, oh, this animal's got to have a mansion. No, it don't. If I put a ball python in something like this, he's going to go almost 90% guaranteed he's going to go in that hole right there behind that hay bale, and that is where he's going to stay. Point blank and period. There are some snakes that absolutely would use this amount of space. The corn snake does, the rat snakes do. We've got a carpet python down here in the same exact size one as in. He'll bounce around from place to place to place. Bearded dragons will explore areas. There are certain species of animals that just do not need it. If you want to give it to them, that's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. It doesn't stress them really anymore to have a big enclosure than to have a small enclosure, as long as they have places to hide. I mean, I could put any of the ball pythons we have in something that a Burmese python could fit in, 8-foot, 10-foot pen. And as long as he's got several places he can hide, little hides that he can hide in, doesn't matter the size of the tank. What matters is that he has things that he feels comfortable with. So understand your habitat, understand the animal that you have, and what makes your animals tick, okay? Too big can cause stress. Too small can absolutely cause stress. They can be stressed out from being in something too small, but too big can cause stress. And certain animals just don't need mass amounts of space. They're not going to use it. Some animals need bigger amounts of space because they will utilize it. So again, it's species by species. With that being said, stress or not eating due to stress, a lot of the times comes down to the handler or the habitat. When you first get an animal, just don't expect it to eat right out of the gate. Put it in its habitat, make sure the temperatures are right, make sure it's set up correctly, and give it a couple of days. Give it a chance to kind of get settled in, what we call acclimated to its environment, and then start trying to offer it food. In the case of chameleons, for example, chameleons are super stressy. They'll die just from stress. Or the wedge-head caimans, they'll die from stress just from the stress of handling. People instantly want to get them and think you can handle a chameleon like you can a bearded dragon. You handle it like that and it's going to die. It is going to happen. They take time to build up to that kind of handling. And of course, these little wedge-head caimans, everybody wants the wedge-heads because they're cheap, the smooth front or the dwarf species, the smooth front or the wedge head, the palpebrosus or trigonosus. They want those two because they're cheap, they stay smaller, but everybody thinks they can handle them like they can the spectacled caiman, like they can the Morlet's croc, an American alligator, things like that. You absolutely cannot. Most of them don't survive anyways. They're either farm-born or they're wild-caught, including some jokers in our area that like to sell them, and there is a reason you see very few as adults because they do not survive. So save your money. Don't waste it on these idiots that keep selling these things that they know is going to die on you. All right? But again, even if you get it in, and even if the perception is that it's actually healthy, you start handling something like the dwarf species of caiman way too much too soon, they'll die just from the stress, and they'll never eat just from the stress of that activity. Now, another thing that can keep them from eating is taking them on trips and stuff like that. Once your animal's used to it and used to being pulled out and moved, things like bearded dragons, yeah, they can go anywhere. They'll eat pretty much any time, unless they're not used to it. But there are other things that can cause them to stress and not eat, such as trips, traveling, too much handling, not enough handling. In some cases, not enough handling. Most of the time, not enough handling is not going to cause anything. They're just all they're going to do is eat and sit in their cage. The cage not being set up correctly, being too hot or too cold can cause that lack of eating. So again, there's so many things that can cause a snake to not eat, not just an instant medical condition, oh crap, my snake or my lizard's not eating, oh he's sick, what's wrong with it? No, not always. Probably 75, maybe even 65% of the time. It's something to do that's stressing them out that can be simply changed or looked at to see if maybe something is being done just off in kind of an off manner. All right. Now, again, this is just a simple overview of different common problems that people run into, kind of the ways and things and reasons why these problems can occur. Yes, can not eating come from sickness? Of course it can. Absolutely. There's many things that can cause a reptile to not eat. Mouth rot, scale rot, shell rot, bacterial infections, fungal infections, respiratory infections. There's so many different things. Ear abscesses, eye abscesses. Just again, there's a ton of things that can cause a snake, a lizard, turtle, whatever their species is for that particular issue, absolutely that can cause them to stop eating or not want to eat. But 90% of the time, just about 90% of the time, when you have your reptile that just all of a sudden stops eating or doesn't eat when you first get it, that's due to stress. And so this just goes over some of the stressful things that can cause reptiles to not eat, to give you the overview so that you know kind of how to just back off, let them do their thing, let them get used to their environment. If you know their environment is right, just give them the chance to kind of get used to it, explore, and get comfortable in the new setting that they're in. Or if they're already in that setting, then let's check and see if maybe the temperature's off, there's too much moisture, not enough moisture, the temperature's too high, too cold, maybe they don't have enough hiding spots, maybe they don't have enough basking spots or climbing spots, maybe the habitat is just a little bit off, okay? Or maybe you're doing too much handling, you're taking it out too much, trying to interact with it a little bit too much to begin with, or maybe it's traveling too much, or any number of things can be going on to cause stress. Too much activity in the house, kids running around all over the place, raising all kinds of cane and everything else. So there could be any number of reasons why things like this can happen. But again, we hope this has been helpful. This is Chad. This is Common Reptile Problems, episode number 4. We do appreciate you following along week after week after week. Make sure to leave a comment below. Also, our information will be in the description below for those needing to get in touch with us. People do it all the time. Feel free to write us in and let us know of other things you want us to film about. Again, this is Chad. We are the Reptile Rangers. Don't forget about our TikTok channel and, of course, the Instagram channel. We appreciate you following along week after week after week. We'll either see you here at the zoo or we'll see you on the next episode. Later.